WWE made an announcement that shocked nobody and everybody at the same time. Nobody because we all figured it would happen at some point, and everybody because it actually happened. WrestleMania 43 is set to take place in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 2027. Now, this is something that has been theorized by many fans, myself included, over the past number of years when WWE started to lean more towards Saudi Arabia in terms of major pay-per-view events. Years ago, I suspected that when the 10-year deal ends around 2027, the final event as part of the deal would be WrestleMania itself, because the country would no doubt throw as much money as they can toward WWE to make this happen, and that's precisely what has come to fruition here. With that being said, I'm gonna give everyone my full thoughts on WrestleMania 43 taking place in Saudi Arabia. Before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, and if you want me to give any future videos like this, please let me know in the comments. I've decided to balance it out with 3 pros and 3 cons so that I don't just sound like some sort of corporate ass kisser or an angry hater. I'm gonna start off with the pros because, let's be honest, the moment I stop talking about the cons, everyone's just gonna click off the video. Pro number 3. The potential end of the Saudi Arabia deal. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, I am not saying that Saudi Arabia should not be hosting WWE events at all. What I mean by this is Saudi Arabia no longer being a requirement for WWE to travel to twice a year is a good thing. In 2018, WWE signed a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia to host at least 2 premium live events in the country every single year. 2020 and 2021 were exceptions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, no matter what WWE had planned on the schedule, they were required to go to Saudi Arabia twice a year for certain events, the most signature one being Crown Jewel. However, if the deal was no longer there, Saudi Arabia can simply join the list of potential locations for future televised events or PLEs, like if WWE is doing an international tour of Raw and SmackDown events, with a PLE possibly happening once every other year or more. Choosing to go there instead of being required to is much better to have and gives opportunities for other locations to host shows. Pro number 2. Future international WrestleMania events. WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia is going to be the first time ever that the event is taking place outside of North America and the 3rd time outside the United States. The only times WrestleMania took place outside the US were in 1990 and 2002, both of which took place at Skydome in my hometown, my kingdom as I say, of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. In the early days of the Saudi Arabia events, the crowds were abysmal, rarely getting into the action, not understanding a lot of it, and of course placing the royal family in the ringside area where they mostly ignored what was happening in front of them. But as the years went on, the crowds got louder, more energetic, and even got quoted as one of the best wrestling crowds we've ever heard on a PLE. As Night of Champions this year had one of the best crowds next to Paris, France. So if WrestleMania performs in such an amazing and energetic way by means of the audience, this could very well inspire WWE to pursue future international WrestleMania events. Or it couldn't, but it's always good to think optimistically. And now, pro number 1, the fans in the country. While there are a lot of things to say about how Saudi Arabia works in terms of government, religion, etc., the number 1 pro of WrestleMania taking place in the country is none other than the fans who reside there. Most of the time, fans from Saudi Arabia don't get the chance to attend even one single WrestleMania event in their lifetime. Some have traveled to the US over the years to attend, but with the show taking place in Saudi itself, it gives the rest of those fans the opportunity they otherwise never would have gotten. So I know when the tickets go on sale for this event, it will definitely be flying like crazy, as it could very well be a once-in-a-lifetime moment for them. We never know. So there are my 3 pros of WrestleMania 43 taking place in Saudi Arabia. Now we're gonna move on to the 3 cons, though some of them might look familiar to us. Con number 3, the controversy of the kingdom. It is no secret that fans have been vocal for nearly 10 years since WWE first started to go to Saudi Arabia for pay-per-view events. Whether that be in the way they view homosexuality and religion, their unfortunate history with the United States, and of course, the way women are treated. When the events first began, women were not allowed to compete whatsoever, so every single match that took place for the first 3 shows were all involving the men's wrestlers, with some exceptions including Sami Zayn and Aleister Black. Sami because at the time Syria had major tensions with Saudi Arabia, and Aleister because of certain tattoos he wore on his body. That might actually still be a problem, I'm not sure yet. But when women were finally allowed to appear and wrestle at the event, they started by wearing full bodysuits and extra large t-shirts. I always thought the t-shirts were redundant since the bodysuits were already covering up their skin. Later on, they just allowed the women to wear full bodysuits without the t-shirts. But even though they were allowed to wrestle the events, seeing them wearing the suits instead of their traditional ring gear reminds us about how Saudi Arabia gives women certain rights, but not all compared to the men. Con number 2, Saudi Arabia being the first overseas WrestleMania event. Now the reason this is a con is because WWE fans have been begging for years on the potential of WrestleMania traveling overseas to countries that are pro wrestling heavy and have been doing everything they can to get the company's attention. Most notably, London, England. The city fans have been hoping would host WrestleMania at the iconic Wembley Stadium for over 3 decades. Other names include Australia, France, and even Japan. And while the news of WrestleMania taking place in Saudi Arabia excites some, it unfortunately doesn't excite the many. Everyone pushed for London to be a potential WrestleMania host due to the United Kingdom's dedication to professional wrestling for decades and the passionate drives from the audiences over there. Whereas Saudi Arabia only got this distinct honor for the reason that is the number 1 con. Con number 1, money and greed. WWE, of course, signed on this 10-year agreement due to the tens of millions of dollars thrown in their general direction. In this case, it's allegedly reported that Saudi Arabia paid TKO $250 million to get them to host WrestleMania 43 at the near end of the agreement. Money and greed has been an ongoing problem with TKO ever since they purchased WWE and the UFC. Ticket sales have exceeded in ways that made even me reconsider attending the shows due to potentially going broke. As a result of the greed, WrestleMania 42 is taking place in Las Vegas at the Allegiant Stadium in 2026, the exact same venue that hosted this past year's edition. WWE had already announced that New Orleans was set to be the host of WrestleMania 42, but then TKO got blinded by dollar signs and changed things up. The same thing has been done for the case of WrestleMania 43. Knowing what happened this year, next year's WrestleMania in Las Vegas will likely exceed in the prices even more than they already did, preventing full families and fans who don't get a lot of opportunities from being able to attend the show. As a result of Saudi Arabia allegedly paying $250 million to host WrestleMania, I don't even want to imagine the cost of the tickets over there because it definitely won't be cheap, even in their currency. TKO unfortunately cares more about maximizing profits for the rich due to the UFC's success, but are too blind to realize WWE isn't now, nor will it ever be on the level of the UFC. People pay top dollar for the UFC due to it being a legitimate mixed martial arts sports competition. Like how fans pay top dollar for other sports like football, baseball, basketball, etc. The WWE is theater and caters toward families. If you take away the families, you take away your biggest chances of truly maximizing profits. And there we have it. Those are my full thoughts on WrestleMania 43 taking place in Saudi Arabia in 2027. If there are any pros and cons you want to add, feel free to place them in the comment section. And as always, subscribe to my channel for more content. It would be greatly appreciated. And always remember to think optimistically.